Why I chose social media in the workplace. After taking a few years to explore the business world, I've decided to do a career change into human resources. Therefore, when this project was introduced, I decided to choose a topic that would both interest me but also have a possible use when applying to graduate programs. If you're going to spend an entire semester on something, I hope to use it later on. Before deciding exactly where to go with this, I did some informal interviewing of current HR professionals and their take on the adoption of social media technologies into the corporate workplace. So why is this important, you ask? Well, there's no doubt that the emergence of social media technologies has changed how we as a society function. Even more, the adoption of social media technologies within organizations as a form of communication is occurring at an incredibly rapid pace. However, the implications of adapting these technologies has not been researched yet. So how do we know if it's a positive or negative change? What I will look at, I will show that companies that have kept an open mind to these technologies have found a higher job satisfaction amongst their current employees than those not embracing these technologies. The first thing I had to do was define what social media technologies are in terms of the corporate world. So now I ask you, think of your own definition. You got it? Good. Throw it out the window. I will not be discussing Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or any other reference to that type of social media. Instead, for the purpose of this research article, we will define social media technologies as internet-based applications that build on the ideological and technological foundations that allow the creation and exchange of user-generated content, such as microblogs, wikis, and the content networks. The next thing I did was organizing how to write my literary review in a way that one, would make sense, and two, support my hypothesis. So I broke down it into understanding the usage policies, job performance, and overall organizational communication. Now let's take a brief walk down my literary review. The emergence of these new social media technologies into the workplace has no doubt left corporate organizations grappling with the task of creating effective social media usage policies. Through rough trial and error, many companies have learned that there is no easy fix or black and white policy to help regulate this usage. Vast and Kanigher surveyed and followed 74 company policies across a variety of industries and sectors and learned that as social media became more prevalent in the workplace, policies became less and less defining. So while early policies took on a more risk management approach to excluding social media, later policies often encouraged the usage, referring to the positive values it could bring to the company. They still had a slight risk management guideline, but nothing as strict as before. Employees have now become less worried about answering a phone call or placing a response on the wiki board shared in the department. However, we can honestly say that it is to be expected most employees may or may not truly follow organizational policies. Turner, Grube, Tinsley, Lee, and O'Peel did a research study that showed most employees took their cues on the social media technology usage from their supervisor's behavior. If their supervisor approved it, most likely they used it. Most of my literary review was focused on the adaptation and implementation of social media technologies within the company. Probably one of the better resources I found was written by Jeffrey Term and Paul Leonardi. They, just as me, wanted to understand how the adoption of social media technologies affected the communication inside the corporate workplace. Where most of my research focuses on a certain attribute of these technologies, none of the research takes a step further to look at how it affects communication within an organization. Term and Leonardi set up categories on how social media is valued, and within each value, how it affected the communication within the corporate structure. In a study by Tom Stonali and Mueller, they found that employees liked the open source ideology of social media as a form of communication. Not only did it eliminate the tension of who to include and exclude, but it encouraged informal collaboration and knowledge sharing between coworkers. This open sharing allows for employees to have a stronger feeling of importance, since they are now or can contribute to the company they work for. This in turn creates a stronger sense of pride in their work and a happiness in their job. Prior to social media and advancing communication technologies, it was not uncommon for coworkers to sit side by side in cubicles only a few feet away from each other and have little to no interaction, most commonly caused due to organizational structures where employees are segregated into departments, teams, or visions. Farrell, Kellogg, and Thomas researched the use of internal blogs, wikis, and social tagging. They found that these blogs helped improve coworker communication across organizational boundaries. boundaries. Another study done by DeMacco, Greyer, Millen, Dagan, and Brownheltz focused on the internal social network Beehive used by IBM. It was like a Facebook for corporate companies, which allowed for employees to connect based on common interests or likes and dislikes. Both of the previous mentioned studies are examples of how the integration of new social technologies help to influence and develop social capital in corporate organizations. Furthermore, the creation of these social networks helps to give new employees the chance to meet people outside their department. This now brings me to my research question and hypothesis. So my research question: how does social media technologies affect the organizational workplace? My hypothesis: companies that embrace the adoption of social technologies saw higher job satisfaction within their organization. How am I going to do this? Well, first I will choose one corporate company that has over 100 people, multiple departments, a social media policy in place, and social media technology already integrated into their organization. Next, I will use a few different surveys in the format of multiple choice questions and Likert scales to gauge the person's job, their media usage, how long they have worked for the company, and other variables that will be needed for comparison. I will also ask for performance reviews for any employee that takes part in these surveys. This way I can compare if someone hates their job and has a bad performance review overall versus someone that might be amazing at their job but dislikes or doesn't understand the new technologies. Performance reviews will give me another insight to the participants. Finally, if needed, I will conduct follow-up interviews with various participants that I would like additional information on. This is only if the information cannot be gathered with the above methods, or if the above methods create information that needs further explanations. Finally, once I have all the information, I will use data entry and Excel to plug everything in. From there, I will create similar tables to the many seen in my research papers and give descriptive statistical reviews on my findings. I would expect to see a few things: younger people and often new hires to be more open to the integration and usage of social media than older and more established employees. Also, that people in higher positions or positions such as marketing and sales to have a higher social media usage than someone that might work in accounting. In turn, I would expect to see that those individuals would have a greater sense of community and social connection to the company than, say, that person in accounting. So I'm aware that there are a few flaws in both my proposed research and research prior to me. Many of the social media technologies mentioned in these studies does not exist anymore or would be out of date. Further, more social media technologies have evolved, and the true interest would be to understand how possibly Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even LinkedIn now affect the corporate workplace. How the informality of these new media affect organizational communication. Have they replaced the current organizational communication? I was able to find articles on recruiting with these technologies mentioned, but nothing that linked organizational communication or job satisfaction to these forms of new media social technologies. My sample base is small, just one company to start, so my paper could be considered more of a trial run than an actual research topic. Just as one type of social media policy does not work for all companies, neither might my findings. IBM used Beehive for communication, where other companies used microblogging. My data collection will most likely be surveys that exclude any type of individual feedback.